All the Juggalos in recovery.
As we know, my name is Frank. I'll be running the meeting. Juggalos in Recovery is about the community in recovery. There is no judging here. Excuse me. Everyone is unique, and so is their recovery. Our topic tonight will be rolled on the gym list, Juggalo Improvement Meeting List. Please feel free to talk about your experience. This meeting is about an hour long for any newcomers. We appreciate the strength and humility you bring to the meeting, and we are happy you are here. Now let's roll. I will share my screen. I will bring up the meeting list. And then our D6 is a 1. Ooh, we're going to get deep tonight.
Oh, shit.
We got pain. Let's see. 27. The outcome of not letting go of past trauma, then projecting it onto others. Oh, I came up with this one and I know exactly what that means.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we don't need to add anything to that because that topic's going to hurt my brain.
Oh, I know it.
So, the topic, to clarify, the outcome of not letting go of past trauma and then projecting it onto others. So this happens to me even to this day all the time because I am the type of person who doesn't like to let things go. I like to hold on to it, so I remember it, to learn from it. But I always, after I learn from it, I forget to let go of it, of the pain and the hurt and the emotions. So I just let that stuff build up inside of me. And then what I end up doing is I start subconsciously seeing all these issues in other people around me. And then I start fucking their world up because I don't want to get hurt again. So I lash out, I get angry, I get defensive, like the smallest minute triggers. It's unreal, like how something so small and almost zero to do with what actually happened to me in the past triggers me into that, nope, I'm going over the edge. And then I project it onto them. I wish Stacy was here because she's lived through this probably 3 dozen times by now. I projected myself, and that's one of the biggest things. I projected myself onto everybody. One of the things I learned in the AA rooms when I was going to AA was if you find something about someone else that you don't like, look in the mirror because that's something that you don't like about yourself. And ever since then, anytime I've ever disliked something about someone, I looked at myself and I was projecting all of my dislikes about me onto them. So I hated them doubly more than I should have.
Oh, you want me to say some shit now? Okay.
Oh yeah, it's your turn now. We're gonna go back and forth.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. You get to learn all about me. So
That's the point.
I know.
Welcome to a podcast with Frank
and Chris. It's so fun.
Yes.
We're equally as stubborn, work equally as hard. So for me, I had the hardest time.
You muted.
Yeah, I clicked the button.
You had the hardest time.
I had the hardest time holding on to every small inconvenience that ever happened, and then immediately the first person that did something slightly inconvenient, I would just kind of explode at them because I was holding on to all of the bullshit because I didn't have any type of outlet or coping mechanism. So that was one of the hardest things for me to try to cope with. And what it was just me not having a positive way to express myself. I didn't have that ability to share what I was feeling or even really think on what I was feeling in that moment. And instead, I ended up just holding that on until either A, I was fucked up, or B, I was sober and stressed out, and then throwing it at whoever was nearby.
Yeah. Why do you think we do that? Because we
I,
both know that it's not just us. It's everyone does it.
everybody
Addict
does
or
it.
not, it doesn't matter.
So, what it really comes down to is literally just what we're taught growing up is we're not supposed to yell and scream. We're supposed to be quiet. We're supposed to be seen and not heard. Most of us were raised that way. Most of our
Hmm.
parents weren't, "We'll talk about your feelings" type peoples. And, that's some shit that we have to learn in adulthood. So, most of our teenage years when hormones are raging and we're the angriest people we've ever been, we have no way to express ourselves. So we usually band-aid it with going out and getting fucked up. And from there, that was our only release. So when we don't have that band-aid, it comes out in the worst way possible because eventually we run out of room to keep all of our bullshit inside.
See, I think I agree with that to a point. I think the rest of it is a defense mechanism. A lot of the things that I've seen, I see it as people are afraid to see what they are behind the imaginary face they put in front of everybody, including themselves. Because we are so used to that comfort zone that we were forced to create growing up that now we're just afraid of the unknown because we are the unknown in that scenario. We're afraid of ourselves, of who we could really be. Are we really that demented of a person or that fucked up of a person? Do we want to admit that and accept that? Do we want to work on it? Like all of that stuff is a lot to take in. So it's just easier to keep going in the comfort zone and, trying to make life as easy as possible. And the reality that a lot of people cannot handle in a lot of troubled times in their is life isn't going to be easy. It's never easy. You'll have easier days, you'll have happier days, but it's not going to be easy because if it was easy, we would have no balance. You have to have good to know what evil is. You have to have evil to know what good is. If we had no evil, everything would just be neutral. And then if you take that comparison and you turn it into science, we have no happy, we have no dopamine. We don't have dopamine, we don't have happiness. We have no emotions. Let's just become robots.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that, but I'm kind of a robot. I don't really express myself all like
You
that.
attempt to be a robot.
Yeah. Well,
You
it's
attempt.
it's useful.
In some instances, but in a lot of instances, it's not good to be a robot. And since you brought that up, that you're a robot, so why don't you explain to me times where that didn't work out for you?
Um, the only times that being the robot hasn't really worked out for me is when trying to help other people's deal with grief and mourning. So I don't really
Hmm.
have
The irony of that
I know.
is not lost on me.
Uh-huh. I'm sure. But I don't have great emotional intelligence when it comes to the loss for others, especially when it comes to family, since my sense of family and my understanding of what family is very different than others. Some people are just attached to these ideas of people, and to me, even just the way they describe the relationship with these people just means nothing.
Hmm. This makes me want to start interviewing you. I just want to point that out.
I'm sure.
Can you see the smoke coming from my ears?
Uh-huh.
The gears are
The
grinding
gears are
right now.
spinning. Uh-huh.
Do I want
I
to
know.
turn this into a Chris interview since Chris is one of the most secretive people in Juggalos in recovery and in probably in the Juggalo world? We know
I'm not
more
that
about
secretive. You
Shaggy
just,
than we do about you.
yeah, I'm not that important.
But to Juggalos in recovery, you are.
I'm just the face on the screen saying some shit.
Why? What has stopped you, or how do I word this? What is your opinion on emotional intelligence, and why do you feel that it? What? We'll start with what is your view on it?
It's important. Like you need to be able to have empathy for people, but there comes a point when developing emotional connections becomes a hindrance to who you can be as a person. When you've devoted so much of your own landscape to caring about every single person that you've ever met in your life without having any off switch, which you know plenty of people that do exactly that, you end up burning yourself out and your whole life ends up being focused on doing things for others and you end up coming last.
Mhm. So you, it's not that you refuse to be emotional. It's that you just have a very good regulator when it comes to emotions.
Sure.
So are you, do you, how do you deal with emotions then? The big ones, the ones that tend to overwhelm most people.
And turn into a robot, I think purely logically.
So that never comes back to bite you.
I mean, sure, it can because of other people's reactions to it, not so much the way my thought process went.
So, so for me, if I was to, I'll use earlier this year with my grandfather passing away. We all knew that happened.
Hmm.
So because of my deployment situation and my grandfather passing away, I had to flip that switch and just not process it once I got back to my deployment area.
Hmm.
It took maybe about 2, 3 weeks. I don't remember exactly the time frame. It was within like the first 3 weeks of me being home. I ended up, because I flipped that switch, I ended up having a breakdown night where I just couldn't control my emotions. I let go, like I was crying. I was extremely emotional. I couldn't think straight, all that stuff. And the only way I personally could process that is by going through those emotions. And then once I was able to go through those emotions, I was able to move on.
Right. That's how emotions work. You have to feel your feelings, but you also have to
So
give
you
yourself
do feel
permission.
your feelings.
Yes.
Okay. See, that's where I was misunderstanding because the way you were talking, it was like you just don't have feelings. You're able to just
No.
push them down and nope, I'm never dealing with them.
No, I can just totally turn them off when necessary.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. So what is the hardest emotion that you've had to deal with?
Um, for me, it was probably dealing with the realization that my father is dying.
Hmm,
So the
I can see
whole
that.
grief and cycle that comes with that.
Yeah, I can
Because
see that.
yeah, that one hits hard. That hits hard for everybody. Somebody close to you passing, that sucks. But when you have to deal with it in a real time manner, you don't have the luxury of stopping to feel it because you have to deal with everything that's going on right then and there. And that one
Yeah,
was probably the most difficult in recent times.
I feel like the way you just explained that, that's kind of what my grandmother's been dealing with after my grandfather died. Because she's been taking care of him because he's just been getting sicker and sicker and sicker and could do less and less for him, for himself. And he ended up literally becoming her whole world. Like that's all she did was take care of him for like the last 8 years, 6 years, something like that. It was a long ass time.
Right.
So I can only imagine. Like I was lucky enough to deal with it from far away, not having to deal with it on a 24/7 basis. So I can only imagine what it is to be up there close and dealing with it every day.
Yeah, no, it's not fun, but that's one of the reasons why I'm as busy as I am.
I feel like there needs to be more said about that because that was extremely
So
non-informative.
it's just about every other month I'm flying back and forth to go take care of my parents.
Oh, okay. That's where I thought it was going. All right.
Yeah, I
How
don't
does it
know.
feel to be on the hot seat, Chris?
It's not the first time, surprisingly. Yeah, ask some questions
Why?
and shit.
I mean, why haven't we done this before? Why haven't I brought like thrown questions at you? Like I know stupid shit, but
Right.
Chris
I
as
mean,
a
that's far
person,
more
Chris, are you a
entertaining than
person?
sometimes. I mean, shit. Sometimes, maybe. For the most part, I'm just kind of a host for things.
So what does Chris do when he's not a host for things
I
and
build
not
dumb
working?
shit. I build dumb shit.
What kind of
Uh,
dumb shit?
I build little electric cars. I drive around the gathering, build arcades, do bad woodworking that makes Frank angry.
You still haven't sent me a picture of that, so I can't be
Oh
angry
God.
yet.
Oh, it's so out of square.
That's fine. Do you know how many projects of mine is out of square?
Oh
All
no,
of them,
this one
because I
is
don't know how
like,
to make a scare
no, everything is very much wonky angles.
on purpose.
No, I'm just bad at it.
So you also cannot draw a straight line with a ruler.
But I am gay enough that that is also correct.
Hey, I'm not gay, and that follows in my category too. I cannot draw a straight line with a ruler.
Oh, that's just impressive ineptitude.
Oh wow, my mind is blown right now. We need to stop talking business so much
Why? Because you just want to know
because
more about who I am?
I mean, we probably should have more actual like family meetings because
Yeah.
we spend so much time talking business. We need to take a break and chill out. Rich people do
Oh,
it
yeah,
all the
you're
time. Why can't we?
right. You're not wrong. We are
I
probably
mean,
interesting enough people.
Steve Jobs literally took like the top 100 of his company onto like a retreat and just brain
Mhm.
dumped everything. And that's how we came up with so many ideas for Apple.
But didn't he also just take a whole bunch of acid and do that?
No, that was the legitimate actual story was, I don't know about the acid part, but they would actually take retreats with the top 100 people in the Apple company, designers and all that stuff. Be like, okay, we have how many ideas for the next update or the next piece that we're coming out with or the next whatever. And by the end of I think it was like a 2 week retreat, he would come down to the top three, hundreds and hundreds of ideas from all this 100 people, including themselves. And then he would be like, nope, we're doing this. He'd start with the top 10 and then knock it down to the top three. And those were the three big design changes or whatever they were going to do that year.
Yeah, Steve Jobs did also fuck over Wozniak. So I don't know that he's the
I
greatest example.
mean, just because him as a person is not the greatest example, stupid people can have good ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean you're not
I
wrong.
think
I
I
just saw
think
that
we
comment on the live.
why who is watching us right now just bullshitting?
No, I don't know, but there's three
Stephen
people
Nichols. Hello,
apparently.
Stephen. Uh well, I'm glad we helped you. Steve wants to know what your favorite arcade game is.
Super Puzzle Fighter. It was a Street Fighter knockoff puzzle game that they released in like Japan and in select locations in the US.
You would love a knocked out game, wouldn't you?
It was officially licensed, but it is like the worst Street Fighter game ever. But I'm beast at it. Okay, a Redbeard at the gathering.
Do what?
He went by Redbeard at the gathering. Stephen Nichols.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I know who that is. I'm having a real hard time placing which, you know, 20 some hours stretch that was.
Yes.
So I want to say that was like third or fourth day we were there and I ran into them.
Yes. Sorry, the wife is texting me.
Yeah, Puzzle Fighter is dope. Puzzle Fighter is the best Street Fighter game that ever existed.
I've never have heard of it, but I also have never been a real big gamer. So I'm more of the book reader type person. I love reading books.
I do too. Most of the time we're in my library, but I also happen
John
to have an
Sanford.
arcade cabinet in my library.
John Sanford. Do you know him?
Mm-mm.
He
Most of my
writes.
books are prior to 1960.
Okay, so you like old books.
Yeah, I'm weird.
So you've known me long enough to know that I absolutely love Christmas.
Hmm.
I own an original newspaper of the first ever printed picture of Santa Claus.
Really?
Yes.
God, you're a fucking nerd.
My next, this one is going to be a big one, but my next is I am going to own a first edition Charles Dickens.
Okay. That would be really impressive. It's totally doable.
They're all over eBay, but they're going for ridiculous money right now.
I know. I
Oh my
have
God.
I have a couple of pretty early editions of like Poe collections, and I've got some stuff from some really
I
odd
think it's Charles
authors, but
Dickens.
Probably the weirdest one that I have is a weird edition of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, which is where all of the Grateful Dead images come from.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Yeah, so I own that. That's kind of funny.
First
Yeah,
edition. Charles Dixon. Dixon. Look at that.
Dickens. I know. 12
20.
grand.
Hey, Big Bricks is coming in.
Oh shit. Big bricks. Raiden 4. I don't know that I know Raiden 4. What up, Bricks?
Well, okay, then two things. I'll get to Chris
Okay.
in a second. For the first one, as we're on the related topic, is you know, you could really basically like I've in my personal experience, I've hated myself for quite a while, for actually a very quite a long time because made I made mistakes where I thought, you know, that I couldn't come back from. I thought people wouldn't forgive me, but then it really surprised me. The ones that really did care about me actually forgave me, and that was my true homies that were still there for me. And it really broke me down because it was hard to forgive myself at that point, you know. And
So let me ask you this question, Bricks.
yeah,
Have you ever realized that when you talk to someone or you meet someone and there's something about them that you don't like, have you ever turned around and looked at yourself and realized you also do the same thing?
yes, actually, I have. I
What have
made the
you done in those
realization.
situations?
You know, I used to be the one person everybody came to for advice, and I used to be, I used to look at myself and like, yo, I seem to have all the answers. Like people come to me, they must respect what I have to say, or really take to what I say, you know, to heart. And I didn't want to see anybody down around me. I didn't want to see any of my homies down, especially. I mean, but when it came to myself, it was hard to take my own advice. I had all the advice in the world I could give somebody else, but then when came to myself, it was hard to even like. It just was hard to try to for myself. You know what I mean? If that makes
I
sense.
do. Oh, it's 100% because I'm pretty sure Chris has gone through it, and I know I've gone through it myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many times when I first got into the meeting rooms that I got sober in, the thing that really stuck with me was the people in the rooms. One of their sayings was, "We will love you until you love yourself,"
Right.
and that's kind of something that, I mean, we don't really say it here in Juggalos in Recovery, but we just portray it. We're going to put out the love and the care for you until you're capable of loving and caring for yourself. So as long as you know that you have the support, that's what matters.
Right.
As long as you keep working towards becoming the version of you that you want to be, that's all that we can ask for. Doesn't matter how
Right.
slow or how fast you go.
I totally agree with that. Sorry, I'm trying to invite some people into the meeting right now. So
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, do your
uh,
thing, man.
I got a couple cats on my profile that I knew back in Phoenix when I used to live in Arizona. Like a lot of my homies, close homies, you know, I knew they had a past, and so this is like a really good thing. Can't join today. Time zone change pushed back my time slot at work. Fuck.
Ah.
How
Hey,
far?
Chris, did you know that Taz tomorrow will have 14 months?
Oh shit.
Yeah,
That's
he got his
dope.
10-month coin at the gathering from us.
I remember that was a big deal.
Yeah.
I ran into Taz when we were doing setup for the hunt for Bigfoot.
Yep. Yeah, he's a good dude. I'm glad he's doing good.
Does Chalks know about the meeting tonight, or is he not joining us?
Tox
Talks
is
is
on a
asleep.
different
Oh,
yeah,
he is?
Tox is on a different sleep schedule than us.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know, life happens. But
It's all good, yeah.
we do have some cool stuff coming with Tox. We're gonna get Tox to run our Discord for us.
Oh, nice.
So we can get Tox's chat room like Tox used to have and put it in our Discord because that chat room that Tox used to run fits right in with Juggalos and Recovery. Mr. D, welcome to the awesomeness.
What up, dude?
So I know
I'm
you're at work,
late. I'm
D.
fired.
That's all right. I got to put Chris on the spot today. I realized I don't know shit about him, so I've been asking him all kinds of personal questions and shit. So just so you know, D, let me open up again because the topic tonight is we rolled the category 1 pain, and then the outcome of not letting go of past trauma and then projecting it on others. That is what our topic is tonight. And then if you want, you can ask Chris probing questions because it's fun.
He likes to be probed.
Yes. Yes.
Just kidding.
No,
Kidding,
no,
Chris.
he does. It's okay. It's okay. He does.
I mean, Frank, you said you don't know him, but I bet you do. No, joking.
I mean, not as much as I've asked him today.
I mean, that's a good topic though, and it kind of would have fit in well with kind of part of what we were talking about last night, man. So
Mhm.
pain and holding on to things and projecting it onto others. I mean, that's kind of what it is. Like until you go through like a 4th, 5th step process, work on character defects, right? You have all these feelings of pain, right? And like we come in like broken, so we're like insecure, we're easy to be jealous, we're short, quick to anger, right? Because the little, I call it my hamster wheel, the stuff that goes on in my head, I am thinking somebody's thinking something about me that's not even thinking of something about me. So my own insecurities are projected onto somebody for no freaking reason. You know what I mean? It's all in my head and they're just living their life. But here I am lashing it out and vomiting on people in early recovery because I think they think something, which is just totally irrational in itself. But through a process of working a program, right, I learn how to act and not always assume what others may or may not be thinking, right? Um, that I think was a very hard part, taking all the years of misery and pain and self-loathing and going like, oh, I'm not worthy, so must everybody else must not think I'm worthy. But look at those people that stood by me through all the crazy shit that are still, some of them that are still here, right? They saw something in me, even though I felt unworthy, I felt unloved, I felt all that. Um, but they're still around for a reason. I just didn't see how they felt about me because I was so consumed in self and projected it on the outside world that I could not see anything positive. You know what I mean? I'm so full of self hate, so I must hate everything else. I'm so full of I have nothing, so I'm jealous of everybody. So that spawns off. Oh, I'm lying, cheating, and manipulating. So the person I'm with must be doing the same thing, right? All those things, right? Happen until you have that time of self-reflection, like we're talking about yesterday, and actually like looking at yourself and working on yourself and growing. That all changes once you start implementing and living a program, not just reading and saying I'm going to try this, but like actually living like a principle behind the program that you're working, trying to change to be a better person. But it's a process. So I'd say like, oh, my first couple months of early recovery, I went through the steps, but it took longer working on defects. That wasn't stuff that was easily broken when you spend years of lying, manipulating, projecting, right? That took time,
Years of programming.
yeah, that you're trying to deprogram, and it's easy to nip in like the big stuff out the bud, you know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
it's harder to like nip out like, let's say, white lies, right? Sometimes it's easier to tell for me to tell a little white lie so I don't hurt your fucking feelings than to be brutally honest and
Mm-hmm.
maybe switch your mind, your perception on something,
Yeah,
right?
see, I had an issue too. And when I started doing that, I realized that I couldn't tell any white lies at all. Like my brain, so I could reprogram my how I dealt with white lies. I ended up having to just always be brutally honest until I realized there's a moderation line I had to go down. And then I had
See,
to learn how to word things a little bit easier and, not tell lies, but be nicer about what I said.
I mean, I think for me, because when I was out there, I was too brutally honest all the time, that I
Hmm.
tried not to take that brutally honest approach in every aspect. Sometimes it's easier to sugarcoat some truth, call it a white lie because it's kind of true, but I'm not giving you the full extent of how I feel. That way, I
Hmm.
don't send somebody off the deep end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because honesty, oh man, that shit hurts, man. When you're brutally honest and somebody hears something you don't want to hear, that makes them go,
Hmm.
oh fuck, I gotta do something different. You know?
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Bricks. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, it's not a big meeting tonight, Bricks. Just unmute and
No,
talk.
My bad.
you're good.
Anyway, I used to have a really slight problem with
Oh, Bricks.
kind of
If you want to
stretching the truth.
annoy Frank, though, just raise your hand every time until he acknowledges you. My bad for interrupting.
No, you're good. You're all good, brother.
D.
I didn't. I had a small meeting, so I decided I just had to raise my hand for that. Anyway, that looks pretty fresh. Is that
Miami,
water?
Miami Cola.
Nice. Anyway, just give me one of those. I need one. Anyway, no, but I used to have a little bit of a problem while I was going through a really bad with the addiction with the pills. Had a little bit of a problem with stretching the truth or telling only half the truth and a whole lie. And I would do that so much because I didn't want to let anybody down. But then I would tell some of the truth and then remember the lie. And then, but he said this. I know that happened with it or whatever, My dad, before he died, he actually called me like cunning and charming because of that, because of my line. He's like, you can't do that. Go to, keep on doing what you're doing and keep going. Go to Shangri-La. I'm like, I understand, Pop. My bad. I'll try to work on that, but I got a little bit of a problem right now. And if I would have told him I was on drugs, he would have been like, you need to go to rehab. I'll put your ass in there because he was in the military and shit, so you know how that goes.
I mean, with stuff like that though, like the people that really care about you, that your friend group, your network or whatever, they see through the lies. The only person you're really lying to is yourself. And I realized that later on in sobriety, like everybody knew what I was doing. Even if they didn't know the extent, they knew I was getting fucked up out of my mind and it was more than alcohol or it was more than weed. And they knew like that I wouldn't have help because I was just lying about it. So they wouldn't even try to get me help, and that's, I think part of that's like a fear thing too, right? We're afraid to let somebody know the truth because we're not ready to get help
Or
yet.
we don't want to
So
hurt them because
we
we
lie
love
to
them.
ourselves thinking we're fooling the world, but we're not fooling anybody.
We just don't want them to
Yeah.
worry or hurt or.
And see, that's the thing is even if we don't want them to, trust me, they are. Especially if they're the ones who actually give a shit about you.
Yeah,
Because
they
no
want
matter
our
Yeah.
what
help.
I told my grandmother, no matter what I told her, no, grandma, I'm fine, whatever, I know what my limits are, all this bullshit that I used to spew out of my brain and my mouth. She was praying for me all the time. And she still
Oh yeah.
does. And I'm, living a happy, happy life.
I was out of prison for 11 months and headed back. My dad seen it way before I did, and I was in prison. And he came to visit one time. I said, "Why didn't you try to help me?" He's like, "Son, I seen the train coming, but I couldn't pull you off the tracks." Like, he knew I wasn't taking help. And every time I get locked up, my mom tells me, "At least I don't have to worry about you being dead if you're in here." She knows how bad it was, but she wasn't gonna try to force anything upon me I wasn't ready for.